We've probably all heard the phrase, the truth shall set you free, but what the fuck is truth? Truth can be a subjective experience or an objective observation. A truth can be a thing woven of lies we tell ourselves in an attempt to define ourselves to ourselves, or to just feel better about the possibility of looming annihilation. And this fabricated thing becomes something we argue for and defend. So what actually is this fucking truth we're trying to get at? I consider the pursuit of truth to be the most worthwhile pursuit to have, in whatever form it takes, but the pursuit of truth requires that you don't hold on to those truths when you think you've found them. Truth is a mountaintop, and we put a lot of effort into getting there, but if you've ever hiked up a fucking mountain, then you know you become absolutely exhausted. And just when you think you're at the summit, you realize you've got way more miles to go. But here's the secret, you're already fucking there. Truth is a destination to aim at, but never arrive, because once you think you know something, then you've sequestered your thirst for truth and you'll plateau. Maybe you have a nice fucking view, maybe you don't want to keep climbing. I take no issue with that, but this is for folks whose fire of aspiration will not let them rest. Sometimes we hear or read something that resonates so deeply that we're convinced it's the truth. By all means, follow your gut, marinate in that resonating field you found within that was triggered by this new idea. But here's the key. Don't grasp or covet it. Don't define yourself by it. Explore it, test it, use it. But the very second something comes along that resonates even deeper, you shit can it and move on, because one truth will lead to another. There aren't any fucking helicopters or roads to the summit of truth. You've got to walk it with your damn feet, one step at a time. You've got to rest occasionally in a paradigm or belief or a practice. In the same way, you have to slowly acclimate to high altitudes at a base camp. The secret is that you keep fucking climbing. Psychologically speaking, truths are quite tricky. Looking for the mental reasons why we're occasionally so fucked up can be elusive. Am I fucked up from my childhood? Am I fucked up from one traumatic thing or another? Asking yourself what's the fucking truth can be overwhelming. You see, everything that we don't appropriately process or deal with becomes a string, and if we don't deal with our strings, then over time, we get a big fucking tangled mess, and when you pull on one possible truth of why we think we might be the way we are, then it pulls on and tightens all those other fucking strings, and it's just too damn much. But the same mountain climbing analogy applies. We just aim at truth, and the bow that shoots that seeking arrow is made of honesty. If you can truly be honest with yourself, then I promise the phrase, the truth shall set you free, can become a reality, and you can start working through your shit and untangling that ball of lies that are disguised as distressing truths. Honesty is a flashlight that we shine in those dark corners of our mind, illuminating all the ignored, depressing memories or anxious anticipations. Honesty will amplify that quiet voice in the back of your mind that whispers, "You're a piece of shit," so that it can be dealt with. An absolute willingness to be honest with ourselves is like walking through the cave of our own thoughts, shining that flashlight on every crag, every feature, every insecurity, every embarrassment or doubt, regret or fear. You can even study the scaffolding of ego itself. Know this, you are not your fucking thoughts. Thoughts are mental events that happen within the calm, pristine, empty but wakeful field of the mind. If you begin observing your thoughts instead of being your fucking thoughts, then you'll automatically take a step back into that field of mind in order to view your thoughts and their processes. But be aware, this is not about disassociating with thought. That won't resolve shit. This is about a more complete understanding of who you fucking are and how you work. A problem that occurs from within the thought plane is very difficult to solve from within the same thought plane. With a slightly different vantage point, we can have an honest look at our ball of string and begin pulling one out at a time, understanding it, owning it, feeling it, and then processing and releasing its charge through the medium of emotion. An emotional release is like psychological Drano. If you're capable of crying, then please don't take that ability for granted, because some people cannot do it no matter how hard they fucking try. If you're one of those people, then all we can do is our best. Screaming into a pillow or out in the woods is surprisingly effective, but honesty is absolutely necessary. If you can be honest with yourself in terms of being totally willing to pull back and look at the nasty shit happening within your thought processes, you're going to start feeling better. Instead of moving through the world with some kind of mysterious fucking malaise that colors your entire experience of living in a shade of shit brown, you look at it, at the fear or self-esteem issues, whatever the fuck comes up. Honesty keeps your eyes open so that you don't look away. There is a kind of peace that comes with the revealing of these little mental truths, however distasteful we may consider them to be. Changing your self-talk can help a lot in this process, like, I'm aware of fear or shame or whatever the fuck happening within the mind. Do you see how that was phrased? Instead of identifying with it by saying, I'm afraid or I'm ashamed, we are honestly acknowledging its presence from the deeper truth of who we are. I'm talking about your baseline consciousness itself, the cognizant substratum of you, in which you can better deal with it in an honest and comprehensive way, rather than exacerbating it or perpetuating it or weaving new bullshit to cover up the old bullshit. But then what about the truth? What's behind all of it? I mean, like reality itself. Well, the aforementioned process of seeking truth but never resting for long in one and peeling our psychological onion is the road to that non-existent peak. I say non-existent because that ultimate peak of truth does not exist in and is not discovered from within the thought plane. It's not a fact or a theory or idea or religion or belief. It is only an experiential awareness of awareness itself. If you want to know the truth, you'll have to transcend knowing. If you want to reach the peak, you just have to know you're already fucking standing on it. In the process of stacking one alleged truth upon another, a thing might just happen in which your giant pile of supposed truths reaches critical mass and topples. There is a point where the mountain climber may be swept from the mountain by a torrential wind of some kind, like a strange grace, and carried into the emptiness. It's when the accepted truths of who we believe ourselves to be, the pillars of ego itself, are destroyed, and we're left with what was already there to begin with. It's like an emptiness that's wakeful, a lucid, ineffable, all-encompassing field. It's not something that makes sense to or can be contained or defined by the thought plane. It's the very thing that supports and allows thought to exist within it, but does not rely upon thought, because it is the genesis of experience itself. It's awareness without the of. It is just something ever-present that has been uncovered. It's the ultimate truth, which is revealed only when you've sacrificed all other relative truths. It's the cognizant nature of consciousness within which thought occurs. And it's not true to say you can experience this. The truth is that you are fucking experiencing this. You've never not, and you always will, until the wave of you sinks back into that sea of ultimate truth. You're the truth, Ruth. You're the one thing true. That one thing is you. Toodaloo.